These fake HOA cops tried to forcefully remove me from my own grandfather's land, and they pointed guns at me like I was the criminal. The lake was quiet that morning when I stepped out of the cabin expecting nothing more than fresh air. Instead, two men in black uniforms with HOA cops screen printed across their backs emerged from the tree-in. Both had pistols drawn. One aimed directly at my chest. The other circled behind me, gun-muzzled, trying to cut off my escape like he'd actually trained for something like this. "Sir," the first one barked, "you're trespassing on HOA-owned land. Drop anything in your hands and prepare to vacate." "Vacate my own inheritance." I didn't blink. "I live here," I said evenly. "This land belongs to Arthur Hale, my grandfather." The second fake cop tightened his grip on his pistol. "Not anymore. Per HOA seizure order, this property is under our jurisdiction now." "There was no such thing." "There couldn't be." "You have 5 seconds to leave," the first man continued, "or we remove you by force." HOA policy. HOA policy. With guns. That told me everything I needed to know. But the mistake these idiots made wasn't pointing weapons at me. It wasn't trespassing. It wasn't even the threat. It was assuming I was some helpless homeowner. They had no idea they were threatening a federal agent on an active murder investigation. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. Because to understand why these men were willing to pull guns over a fake HOA claim, you need the backstory. My name is Ryan Hale, FBI, 14 years of service. 3 months ago, my grandfather was found dead beside this lake. The sheriff called it an accident, a slip on wet rocks. Case closed. But I knew my grandfather. He didn't slip. He didn't fall. And he sure as hell didn't die quietly. So I took leave from the bureau, moved into his lakeside cabin, and began going through every file, every envelope, every handwritten note he'd left behind. One thing kept appearing: the Ridgeview HOA. An HOA that didn't even exist when my grandfather bought this land 50 years ago. A community run or ruled by Karen Whitmore, a woman with a history of bullying homeowners, forging violations, and expanding HOA boundaries in ways that were questionable at best. My grandfather fought her for years: property rights, shoreline access, boundary lines, water pumping privileges, and then suddenly he was dead. And Karen immediately filed a claim that his land naturally falls under HOA oversight. A lie, a bold one. And the harassment began the moment I moved in. Notices claiming I owed $1,400 in back fees. Threats of forced compliance. HOA officers parked near the woods at night. Someone attempting to break into the barn twice. Footprints leading back toward HOA property lines every single time. And this morning, an eviction notice nailed to my door with a knife. And now 2 armed men standing on my shoreline. The gun holder's voice hardened. "Final warning. Leave or we'll take you in." I took a step forward, meeting his aim without flinching. "If you pull the trigger," I said softly, "I'll bury you with the truth about what you guys did to my grandfather." The first HOA cop stepped closer, cuffs in one hand, gun still aimed at my chest with the other. Behind me, I could hear the second HOA cop's boots grinding into the soil as he tightened his angle, trying to flank me. I didn't move. Instead, I asked quietly, "Tell me something. What really happened to my grandfather?" The first HOA cop snorted. "No idea. Old man probably tripped over his own shadow." The second HOA cop chuckled. "Should have sold the land when he had the chance. Would have saved everyone the trouble." My jaw tightened, but my voice stayed controlled. "And since when does an HOA employ armed officers with pistols?" Both men stiffened for half a second. A flash of panic. They thought I didn't notice. The first HOA cop recovered, lifting the cuffs again. "Turn around. Hands behind your back." You're being detained under HOA jurisdiction." There it was, the line they should never have crossed. He reached for my wrist, and that's when everything changed. I moved fast, faster than either expected. I seized the first HOA cop's wrist, twisted inward, and drove my elbow into his jaw with enough force to rattle his skull. His pistol slipped free as he stumbled to one knee. The second HOA cop panicked instantly. "Drop to the ground," he yelled, raising his gun. I didn't drop. I charged. His shot went wide, slicing past my shoulder as I slammed into him and dragged him onto the dirt. We rolled, his fingers clawing at the trigger, trying to angle the gun toward my ribs. Wrong move. I smashed his wrist into a rock, forcing his hand open. The gun fell. I snatched it mid-drop, rolled to my feet, and leveled it at him. He froze. I fired. Bang. The bullet tore straight through his shoulder, sending him collapsing backward, screaming as blood spread across the pine needles. Behind me, the first HOA cop regained his footing. He tried to run. He made it 3 steps before I tackled him face first into the ground. I wrenched his arms behind him and snapped his own cuffs onto his wrists. Pinned, bleeding, gasping, he finally broke. "Stop, please," he sobbed. "Karen paid us." "All right, she paid us." I tightened my grip. "For what?" "To remove your grandfather," he cried. He wouldn't sign the land over. Karen wanted the shoreline for the HOA expansion. She said he had to go. My blood turned to ice. "And me?" He nodded frantically. She said, "If you didn't leave, we were supposed to take you out too." The second HOA cop screamed again behind us, clutching his shredded shoulder, blood soaking into the ground. Then I pulled out my phone and made 2 calls. First call, dispatch. This is Agent Ryan Hale. I need immediate FBI response to my location. 2 armed suspects down, attempted homicide, connection to an ongoing murder case. Second call, County Sheriff's Office. I have 2 fake officers impersonating law enforcement on federal land. Send units now. Both lines erupted into urgency. The first HOA cop stopped, struggling the moment he heard the word agent. The second HOA cop stared at me in horror, clutching his bleeding shoulder. "You your FBI?" he choked. I stood over them unshaken. "You should have checked who you were pointing guns at." I stood breathing steady, staring at the 2 men who thought they could erase my family. "This time," I said as the red and blue lights broke across the property, "you're not walking away." If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe, because the story is only going to get better. FBI vehicles tore down the dirt road first. Black SUVs forming a wall between me and the 2 broken imposters. Armed agents poured out, weapons drawn, clearing the scene with crisp, practiced efficiency. Seconds later, county deputies arrived and took over the perimeter. The wounded HOA cop screamed as medics lifted him onto a stretcher, his shoulder still pouring blood. "He shot me. He shot me," he cried. An FBI medic glanced at the wound. "He's lucky he's alive," she murmured. The first HOA cop, the one I cuffed, was forced onto his knees while 2 agents pressed him to the ground. He didn't fight. He didn't blink. He just stared at me, shaking violently. A senior FBI agent approached. "Ryan, what the hell happened here?" I played the body cam footage I had clipped to my belt from earlier, showing the HOA cops pulling guns on me, threatening to remove me by force, and openly mocking my grandfather's death. It only took 10 seconds for the agent's expression to darken. "Get them separated," he ordered. "We're interrogating them now." The first HOA cop cracked almost instantly. "Karen told us too," he shouted as they dragged him toward a vehicle. "She said your grandfather was stubborn, that he refused to sign the shoreline over. She said, we needed to push him. A hush swept over the officers. My pulse thundered. Push him? How? An agent asked. The HOA cop swallowed. We confronted the old man at the lake. She told us to scare him into signing, but he fought back. He slipped, hit his head on the rocks. We panicked. Karen said to leave him. Said it would look like an accident. Then she said, when you came, we needed to make you disappear too. The agent turned to me slowly. There's your murder case. My jaw clenched so tight it hurt. Move, the agent ordered. We're going to her. The FBI convoy rolled straight into Ridgeview HOA headquarters. Neighbors watched from porches as agents stormed the building. Karen was inside her office, looking over paperwork, with a smug little smile. The smile of someone who thought she'd already won. She looked up, startled. What's going on? Why are you people here? The senior agent dropped a file onto her desk. Confessions, audio, body cam, evidence tying you to Arthur Hale's death. Karen blinked fast. What? No. Absolutely not. Those men are lying. The HOA never authorized. The agent hit play on a recording. The second HOA cop voice weak but clear. Karen hired us. She wanted the land. She said the old man had to go. She paid extra to make it look clean. Karen went pale. That's fabricated. That's AI. They're trying to save themselves. Agents closed in immediately. Karen Whitmore, the senior agent, said, You are under arrest for murder, conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder, impersonating law enforcement, and fraud. She screamed as they dragged her out, kicking, clawing, demanding her rights as HOA president. She had none left. 2 days later, Karen got life in prison without parole, plus $150,000 in civil damages. The wounded HOA cop got 27 years. The cuffed HOA cop got 18 years with a confession deal. Ridgeview HOA was dissolved under federal order. My grandfather's land became protected property, his legacy preserved. Standing by the lake he loved, I whispered, Justice served, Grandpa. No one will ever steal this land again. And if anyone else thinks they can rewrite my grandfather's legacy, they'll end up in the same chapter Karen did. The end.